Hello, and welcome back to episode 10 and a half of Veridian County, our realistic Pacific Northwest theme city here in City Skylines 2. In today's episode, it's not going to be our full real episode, it's a little bit of a half episode, just like we've done a couple of times in the past in this series and in other series, where I'm not going to do a full-on project, but I do want to run through an upgrade to Bridges and Ports. In between when I recorded episode 10 a couple of weeks ago and now, the Bridges and Ports DLC has finally released for the game after years and years of waiting, and I currently have my episode 10 Save of the Worlds launched and paused very carefully, very deliberately, because I want to run through the upgrade process with all of you. Let's take a quick look at what we've got. We're currently at 0% simulation, and I expect that my frame rate is going to completely die once I unpause this. It's already pretty bad, and I expect it's just going to completely tank because my CPU just gets up to 100% and overheats and all. So we'll keep an eye on how fast the simulation is actually speeding up. But just for a quick backstock of our world, we're at 51,000 people in population, and we're making about 300k per hour. Let's unpause the game, and hey, good sign, it did not immediately crash. I am very grateful for that. Alright, so we're immediately seeing a population decline. We've just lost about 4,000 people, and I'm sure that that number is going to continue to go down. But hey, 4,000 people is not bad. I've been seeing some other people lose even more than that. But that is like, what, 9% of our population, 8% of our population? Yikes. Anyway, in case you missed it, Bridges and Ports is a really big update to the game, and along with the base game update and patches that came along with it, it has over 100 new assets, including, of course, as the name suggests, a bunch of new bridges like drawbridges and double-decked suspension bridges and extra-dosed bridges. Look how tiny that text is to fit that name on screen. There's movable bridges, there's aesthetic bridges, there's also more keys. That icon right there is for the Bridges and Ports DLC. There's more keys, and these leisure piers were actually added in the last update, but hey, it's good to see that they're still here, and ooh, we got some more pedestrian bridges too, like pedestrian bascule bridge and a cable-stayed bridge. I don't know what the difference is there. I assume they both look like they'll open. We also got new ports. We got a small... Oh, did the game just crash? No, it's just auto-saving. Really slowly. We got a small port, medium port, and a large port. You can see that each one of these has different workplaces and different upgrades that it can get. I'm not going to place one down right now, but you basically start with one of these harbor gates, and then you expand the port complex using a bunch of modular upgrades, like cargo container yards, warehouses, tank farms, custom offices, and more. Plus, there's a whole new ferries tab, which I'm super excited for, and we're going to actually do some upgrades with that in a minute, which is basically just a passenger ferry system, while all of these other guys are basically thought of as cruise ships or much bigger ships or car integrated they're not car integrated, but really big ships that serve intercity purposes. Instead, these new ferries are more for within the city, doing smaller jobs like going from different points to points all around the place, and you got key stops, shoreline stops, and a full proper terminal for it, along with a beautiful depot. There's also new specialized industries that were added. If I select the Bridges and Ports DLC, we got inland fish farming, open water fish farming, and offshore oil drilling. One of my questions is if I have a resource tool for it, and it looks like there's not. So right now, there's a mod that allows me to brush on these extra industries just using the terraforming tool, but it doesn't look like I can do that for offshore oil quite yet. However, some of the offshore fish does seem like it's starting to spawn, especially around where our shipways currently are. The shipways look like they're probably disrupting the fish, which makes a bit of sense. There's some normal oil, but that's not offshore oil, or is it? Maybe that is offshore oil, because that looks a bit different than any of our inland oil, right? Yeah, there's inland oil, there's offshore oil. Well, hey, that's pretty cool. I'll take it. That looks like we've already got the possibility of doing some offshore oil digging. I like it. Anyway, as you can see, we've got a really big death wave, and it certainly doesn't help that we haven't built up our hospital district yet, so the city is really lacking on medical care. It was lacking even before the update began, but this is definitely not helping. Going back to the overview of the update, in addition to the bridges and the ports and the ferries and the industries, we've also got some new signature buildings. The commercial ones are absolutely my favorites. My two most favorite ones of all are this one here, the Maritime Museum, and this one here, the giant conference center. Although I do rather like the industry, the seafood factory. I think I'm just a really big fan of huge buildings like this, and I think both this seafood factory and this conference center are going to make great features of our tourism hub, people's campus, whatever I've renamed it up here. I gotta get some feedback on that. Basically, our version of Seattle Center, we're going to use those really big buildings right around here to essentially shape that whole campus area. Alongside all those new assets, in the Bridges+Ports update came a couple of patches and changes to the way simulation works. So you can see suddenly we've got these noise pollution complaints. So if I take a look at my noise graph, you can see that suddenly there's actual noise pollution in this city. It's just crazy, and probably a terrible thing for a city that was designed with a highway running through it. You know, one of the benefits of having noise pollution be broken is that it kind of allowed us to make some slightly more dumb decisions, like putting a highway through the center of our city. It's realistic for sure, but it kind of took away an element of the simulation of the gameplay, which now suddenly we have to contend with if we take a look at these poor people with the noise pollution impact. And look, I can actually see the noise impact as I hover over it. In the most ideal world, it's going to be 0, like way out here. But as I make my way in towards the city, oh boy, you know, I bet it's probably because of this industrial building right here. I might have to turn this into a static ploppable because that looks like it's the main cause that's impacting this whole area. If I go outside of that, it seems like the noise pollution drops off. In addition to the noise pollution change, there's also a few traffic simulation changes and a whole bunch of cargo simulation changes, so you can see that all of our trains are backed up here. And all of this brings me to the point of this episode. Veridian is a super cool update which makes the game a little bit more realistic in some ways, a little bit more broken in some other ways, but for the most part I'm really happy with it. But what it does mean is that we have some fixes to do. We've got to fix things like this noise pollution, and we got to fix things like these absurd train backups. So why don't I just jump straight into that, right? Starting first with the noise pollution, because we already identified a solution to that. I'm just going to have to get rid of this industrial manufacturing building. I'll copy the color palette, just plain old white and gold. And what is this? This is an industrial building level 5, 3x5. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to use find it to filter for it and look for a 3x5 industrial level 5. It looks like it is this building right here. And now I can paste the color onto there, and you are none the wiser, except for the fact that our noise pollution should begin to drop down as that noise begins to dissipate away. Let's see, are there other noise sources? Noise pollution sources, let's isolate just that. Oh no. Oh, these poor guys. Even this static ploppable looks like it's a noise pollution source. Nothing is quite nearly as bad. Oh, maybe they are. Maybe all of these are high noise pollution sources, and these poor few residential buildings are just kind of screwed. Ah, well, it happens. So maybe we won't fully fix that noise pollution yet, but I'll wait and see if maybe getting rid of that one giant super dark noise pollution source, you can see how red it still is over here. Maybe it'll drop down below 5K if we're lucky, instead of being at the 6K it is right now. We'll see. Next issue I see immediately is that our convention center is a little bit broken. Basically, this is all static ploppables. I put down a leisure service block in here, and that looks totally broken now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head into my bulldozer view and delete a whole bunch of these random net lanes that I have running through here. And then I'm just going to redraw them all. But before I do that, I'm actually going to go into bulldozer mode, head into the Anarchy Components tool. I'm going to turn on Transform Lock, keep the radius, and I'm just going to hover over all of these different guys. Hopefully, this will keep everything in place as I make all these different changes to the area. Nothing's going to pop away, nothing's going to break. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Make sure these guys are all Transform Locked. Maybe this will bite me in the butt later on if I forget that I've done this, so I'm going to count on you all to remind me that I've done this if something ends up causing problems later. But for now, this should just keep our assets a little bit safer. Now back to the root of the problem. Let's draw on these pedestrian roads. I'll use the invisible pedestrian path and draw them all in without anarchy on. Let's find the main entrance for this building. I want everybody to come in through here. Maybe a few people can come in through there. So I'll draw one path in straight from here to a few of these guys where the notification doesn't seem to want to go away. So that might end up being a problem. That's okay. Looks like we've already got some connections in from here. All right, and it turned out the solution was actually super simple. I just needed to place down a pedestrian gate for people to enter and exit the building. Pretty simple, I gotta say. I am actually gonna place down a little parking garage, and I'm gonna slot that in to our current parking garages, and I'm gonna put that out the exit that doesn't seem to get used nearly as much. So hopefully we might get to start to see some more use down there. Oh, my game's paused again because I had to reload and save. Let's unpause that and continue to allow things to simulate. Now that that issue is fixed, let's take a quick look all around the city for any other issues. Greater Grand Central seems to be functioning pretty well for now. We've got a couple of ambulance and hospital challenges here in Western Heights, but nothing all too bad. Although our underground parking is really filling up. But hey, look at that, our decals seem to have saved and remained pretty well intact even after the update. That's always a good sign. Let's see just how many people there are. Ooh, so many. Just as many as always. Nothing surprising there quite yet. It is 3:30 in the morning though, gotta be fair to that. Now our smooth simulation speed is pretty bad, but hopefully it should still be enough to highlight any big issues that we're having at least. We're getting a whole bunch more death waves, ambulance stuff popping up all throughout the Marina District, as well as the Central Business District. Oh, there's a burned down building over here. Oh no, it's a burned down car. But there's been a giant car accident over here at the gas stations. Not at the gas stations, at the EV chargers. Yeah, I'm using the gas station as EV chargers and canopy overhang for these nice little apartments over here. Ah, this poor car accident. Oh no. Well, is there going to be a... Oh, there's a police car already out securing the accident site. So presumably these cars are just going to disappear soon. But that's a really bad accident for just a small little local road. Dang. Right, scanning for more icons. It looks like the Waters District is all in the clear, as is Greater Grand Central. I'm pretty glad for that because I expected to have some pretty big route issues here, but it seems to be working pretty fine. Old Town is pretty good as well, just a whole lot of people dying. You know, a good mayor wouldn't say that's good, but it happens. We're getting some noise pollution complaints at these towers over here that are located right by the highway. No surprises there, but let's see if we can find another source. And yeah, it's probably actually not the highway that's causing these problems, but these industrial buildings over here. And I don't really think there's a solution to that right now. See, we're getting up into the 5,500s over here, and that's not because of the highway. You can see as I move closer to the highway, it is still pretty noisy in the 3600s range, but it's really these buildings where it gets all the way up to the 7s and 8,000s. So I don't think I can solve that without getting rid of all of these buildings, and I just don't think that's something we're going to have to do. Nor is a huge amount of noise pollution from these buildings super reasonable, because it's just really a storage. These are really just storage warehouses rather than whole big production facilities like the heart of our industrial district is. Ooh, I'm seeing a no pedestrian access sign right over here. Let's see what that's all about. If I just reposition it and then I select the decal and move that back into place, that seems to have resolved that issue. Just scanning for any more. It looks like we're good over here for now. Let's see if Seoul Industries is having any problems. Yes, it looks like our water sources in here are totally broken. Let's see if there's anything I can do about that. Oh, this is going to be dangerous. I fear we might end up having a flood. This is super confusing. Either way, this looks fixed, maybe overfixed. Maybe it's going to start flooding like any second now. Please don't start flooding. I don't need that in my life. Just stay right there. Yeah? Ah, of course you're going to start flooding. Why? Why doth you torment me so? Okay, so I got to lower this elevation to 269. And then... Uh-oh, everything's too high. See, this is the problem. I don't get it. I get nothing. I understand nothing. Everything says it's at 268, so hopefully nothing will flood now. But knowing the way this water simulation works, everything will flood. So I think this might be an off-camera problem. But you know what? I'd rather have too much water than too little water, because this looks better from a distance. So I'll take it. I'll call that a win. In the meantime, have any other issues popped up downtown? I see we're starting to rebound on our population, and I'm not seeing any major issues downtown. So the next thing I want to do is begin to address our industrial district. One of the things that this update did is it actually increased the amount of industrial traffic that these cities get, from basically none to, you know, some. Look at that. Look at that road of traffic building up. That's pretty awesome, I gotta say. I'm gonna do some traffic light mod work right over here. This intersection in particular does not need a traffic light, but it does need some priorities work. Now with all this traffic comes a whole lot more problems at all of our at-grade crossings that we've got. So I'm going to have to mitigate this slightly. I was going to say let's start with the easy one, but none of these are easy ones to fix. Maybe this one is, maybe King Street is. First I'm going to have to turn this building onto the other road and slide that into there. Then we're going to sever the whole connection across the rails right on into there. Sever that Primrose Street. Then I'm going to need to probably eliminate these two buildings. And now let's see, 30 feet should be more than enough clearance over this road. Let's just draw that out just like this. And then it can come down. You know what, actually, since these are decommissioned tracks over here, it can start to come down even earlier. It can start to come down as soon as we cross over this final branch. Well, I don't know. Are these decommissioned in lore? No, only this final track is decommissioned. Everything else is potentially used for storage. So we're going to have to do a little bit of a modification over here, where this road doesn't split off immediately over there, but instead it comes down maybe at a curve, like, so maybe it meets up with this road, starts coming down over here, like this. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of moving about, but that's not a big problem. If I draw in that curve like that, it looks a little bit janky, but we can clean that up by deleting that segment and just redrawing it, basically. Just like that. And now I'm actually going to delete these key segments and redraw them in along the outside face. Keep constant slope mode on so I don't mess things up too much. But I'm going to redraw them along the outside face just to give myself a little bit more room in here. And if I do that, I can bring this curve in ever so slightly more gently. Clean that up with Move It. And you do see it clipping into these tracks, but that's okay because this line is solidly decommissioned. And then what I can do over here is I can take my narrow 4-lane road, and I can use that narrow 4-lane road to make the final connection into this wider street segment down here. Now, of course, you can see I've got a little bit of cleanup to do, but this solves this portion at least. Now we got to figure out how to bring it down over on this other side, and I think that's going to be accomplished by basically raising this segment up a fair bit, and that is totally messing up the geometry of King Street over here, so I'm gonna have to redraw that in. And you know, just looking at it, I think this is not the ideal solution either. To be honest, I don't think this is right. I think trying to retrofit raised roads onto a build design that doesn't have raised roads is not the right solution. I think the real solution is to disregard the existing layout of everything and basically start fresh, see what else we can do. So I think this segment over here is not too unrealistic. It's something that I have seen in other cities, like I have seen similar things in places like Seattle. But now that we get over to this other side, I don't think I should come down lower. In fact, I think I should take this back all the way along Heather Street and just elevate it for this entire segment. And now that I have this segment elevated, I can start to draw down local alleyways just to run underneath all of this and serve these local businesses. Let's turn on my snap to building mode and run this straight down the side of this building. And I can curve my road straight in there, just a little local access road. And then I can create tiny little individual accesses into each of these buildings, just like that. And I think this is actually something that you would pretty realistically see in an industrial area. In fact, the unrealistic part is how clean this road is. Normally that might not even have all these markings on it. But if I take a look at Seattle's Harbor Islands, for example, which I was studying recently, they'll have tons of just little access roads all around the freight tracks that you turn off at whatever the nearest point is and basically use it as a long driveway. So now I need to do same thing on this side. I'll probably take a local road. I'm going to take a local road down right over here. I'm going to make sure that that's taken at a 90-degree angle though. So I am first going to draw in a little stub road, bring that all the way up to the same height as the curve, and then I'll begin my descent down using anarchy, of course. And I'm going to reorient a number of these industrial buildings onto the more major road, but the other stuff can effectively just use access roads, like just like I said, long driveways basically. I'll create one that runs through these pillars underneath here, I think. And just like that, we should have all those connections sorted. And if I unpause it, ooh, it's a little odd looking suddenly having a giant elevated road running through our industrial area, but it is simultaneously fairly realistic. So I guess I'll take it. Now we've removed all these at-grade crossings over here, running down this whole way. What are you waiting for? This guy is waiting for... All these are waiting for access up over here, which leaves just this at-grade crossing of Pearl Street in this area. And this is a little bit harder since we have a whole bunch of pretty important buildings right here. So I think the strategy might be to do something fairly similar, where we basically run this as a frontage road and then bring the elevation up around this corner, which means I'm going to eminent domain North Mount Paper over here. My apologies. And this little lot over here is this connection is gonna sever right at the end of this taxi depot. I'll make sure this line is drawn out just over there. And now this is a fairly major road, so I can't do anything too crazy with it. It's gonna have to come up a little bit more gradually, I think. And then I'm actually gonna have to sever it underneath this bridge connection, because it's gonna have to turn and come up probably over here or something, right? And technically this works, but I'm really not a fan of it. So I'm interested in thinking about what the alternatives are. I think probably the best alternative, or the most reasonable goal, is to eliminate all these curves, which basically means redrawing the road in parallel with Briar Rose Street over here. So we're gonna have to do this pretty carefully. Oh my goodness. I don't know how much of that I kept in or cut out. I spent so long just now turning this whole thing into a supernode monstrosity, whatever, some sort of junction, because, you know, it didn't make sense for this 4-lane road. If it's going to be a major arterial connection over here, it didn't make sense for it to turn into Riverbend Street over here and then have a mini node. Rather just link everything up and synchronize it. And since we don't have synchronized traffic lights in City Skylines 2, the only solution was to create a super node. So of course that's what we have here. We have a supernode with a whole bunch of slip lanes for trucks that can't do tight turns like this. So we've got slip lanes in both of those directions, but every other direction is free movement. And of course we've got the train track running through. So if the train is running through, then all of these different zones and nodes will then all close off at once. I remove the traffic light from here since that's no longer funneling traffic through underneath the bridge and not this add grade segment. So now everything is all funneled into this one giant traffic light right over here. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it's pretty awesome. But we'll see. Maybe this isn't actually going to work as a traffic light because traffic lights don't work here or something. I'm going to hope and pray and assume that it works fine, but we'll see. We'll see how it works when I unpause it. But first, let's finally bring this road up and over this whole segment. And now that I've drawn that in fairly smoothly, I gotta select all of these guys and shift them back a little bit. Just make sure that that curve can be taken without clipping into the ramp. And now I've created basically another frontage alley. So this taxi depot isn't facing directly onto the road, but it's instead going to have its own internal circulation route, which I think is pretty good. The other benefit of this is that I think I can now run this alley, just kind of loop it around underneath all of these tracks and stuff. Suddenly we've got an alternative access to this whole area. So this isn't actually cul-de-sac anymore. It actually has a secondary way of getting through here. It is an alley, but it will do the job, which I think is absolutely fantastic. With all of that mitigated, I think I should be ready to resume the game now. And yes, everything should now be working fine. I've got a whole lot of cleanup to do now. So let's get on with cleaning up some of this landscaping. Okay, some landscaping and detailing is done, but the traffic at this intersection still hasn't let up. And the reason for that is actually because of the traffic all coming into this port. Instead of using the straightaway road that leads into the port on this side, it's all going through this one side over here, and that's causing a lot of backups at this micro junction. And so what I'm thinking is something a little bit crazy. Bear with me for this. I'm going to upgrade this road running around the back of this facility over here. So now you can see there's a path all around Briar Rose Street, under the highway, around this incineration plant. And what I'm going to do with this intersection, oh, y'all are going to hate me for this, aren't ya? I'm going to take the lane connector tool, reset everything, and this is going to become a throughway intersection only. That's right. We're just gonna see how this works. I'm gonna leave this connection open just as a backup in case I revert this change, but we're gonna see how this works. If I just cause everyone to go straight around, and if I then set the priority to full stops on these guys and give priority on the throughway on Riverbend Street, really interested to see if anyone recalculates their routing to go around the other way now. Yes, do it. Go straight through. More of you do that. Oh, that's what I love to see. Look at that, heavy traffic going straight through. And yes, there's still a lot, but it's all gonna have to circle around, which means that it's gonna be a lot less efficient, and it's gonna make this junction right here much less busy than this one over here. Great. This is a real City Skylines type of solution over here, I gotta say. But, you know, it does the job. We'll see how badly this backfires eventually, but for now, simulation speed is just kind of not having the best of times. Now, I also know that along with the road upgrades, we got some storage yards for cargo that I could begin to possibly place down. And I did think that maybe I could place it down in here, but in order to access that would definitely require a connection over our tracks. And as we've seen in today's episode, the cross-track connection is just gonna be a non-starter for us right now, I think. So the only one of these that I'm gonna place down is gonna be right in here, over top of our existing props. Maybe it shouldn't have been over top of our existing props, actually. That's fine, nice and clean. And we're gonna see how much traffic this generates. So far, none. Only got 6 employees, so hopefully it's gonna be fairly light traffic, but we'll see. We'll come to think about it soon enough. But either way, hopefully that's this portion of this episode done. We'll revisit this momentarily. But for now, I want to move on to establishing a little bit of a ferry service. Right here, we got Pier 10, our harbor, but I don't think this is actually workable given the current state of the game. These large ships that are going to stop at the harbor are really much more for intercity travel with thousands of people of capacity. These are really large ships that really only make sense for a main harbor in the city that connect up to all these other areas. This Pier 10 over here is really going to be for intercity travel, for more local travel to get to the amusement park from downtown or to hop to different areas within the harbor. It's really not going to be across different cities farther out in the region. So this harbor is now gone. And instead, we're going to begin to replace it with some ferry uses. In this area, I'm going to want to fit in this ferry terminal, as well as this massive ferry depot. Maybe we place this ferry depot on the inside portion, kind of over by Mistwood Street. Let's do that. Let's place it right in there. And that's stunning, but I actually want to upgrade it with the extra building. Even though we don't really need all those ferries right now, I think it just looks a little bit more complete. And then if we place the ferry terminal all the way back along Spruce Street, it's going to have basically a 2-unit gap between where we want it to be and where it is. So I'm actually going to draw out an extra service alley. I'm going to bring that out here. I'll upgrade it to a nice and proper 2-lane road. And if I place that right there, it complains about no pedestrian access. I just built the most vanilla thing ever. What's your problem, huh? There we go. Just had to replace it, I guess. And suddenly, I just totally changed up this harbor. Look at this, y'all. This is pretty fun. This is pretty cool. I'm gonna take a little bit of this landscaping and continue it along. And then out here, I think I might actually add one of our new happy little passenger keys. If I can find that. Yeah, we can bring that out just past this ferry terminal. And check that out. That's kind of nice. Got a little bit of a funky connection over here, but that's quite all right. We'll just hide the imperfection with some landscaping. And suddenly, I just transformed our whole harbor into a beautiful pier. Really beautiful pier. I can connect all these guys up. Where's the stop for this guy? Oh, I have to build it? I don't really understand how this works yet. Ferry terminal pier. Oh, I do. I have to build this out. There we go. That's kind of cool. All right, I guess I should build that first then. All right, if I draw this out, it'll come out right about to here. That feels pretty satisfying. So then I've just got to connect everything up with these narrow seaways. And look at that. It's like a little ferry network in and of itself, all ready to go. Now, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with these parcels yet. In fact, maybe I'll just mark them as construction sites for maybe some like little housing development, because this would actually be a relatively easy way to get downtown. You're only a couple stops away by boat or by train. It's a little hard to drive to, but it's a great way to just hop into downtown for anything you need. There we go, just put a couple construction vehicles down, a little bit of surface. We'll get back to detailing more of this area as we develop out in this direction a little bit more. For now, the detail level just kind of trails off as we go out this way. But hey, for now it'll do. I know we'll have to reconfigure this at-grade crossing as well once we get to the time for that. But for now, I think this will do. I'm glad we have a ferry depot. In the next episode, we're going to place down another ferry terminal somewhere downtown. So that's something to look forward to. But for now, I think we're done on the ferry front. So let's get back to fixing the brand new traffic and all these death waves and fire and noise and all the things that are going wrong in this episode. First, I want to see, how's our interchange from episode 9 holding up? I'd say this one is holding up pretty well. This one, pretty well. This one, also pretty well in the interchange side of things, but outside of the interchange is where it starts to back up a little bit more. Our industrial district is full of traffic, and that's because of, a huge amount of people trying to get everywhere. Where's everybody trying to go? Some people are trying to go to the cargo train terminal, some to the cargo harbor, some to this other cargo harbor. Some are trying to make their way into downtown through here. Oof, not recommended. I'm gonna upgrade this middle lane to our emergency alley that we used elsewhere over here. Emergency slow alley with super slow speed, just so that it maintains the connection, but none of the drivers actually will want to use it because it is so dang slow. And yes, that's the point. Because people are using this intersection more, that's causing backups on this highway interchange, and that is causing some backups down I-92 that way, and the other direction, plus all this industrial traffic over here is causing backups on I-92, running all the way down towards the industrial district in this way. Alright, fair enough, that's mostly industrial traffic. Colossal Order did warn us about some of the increased traffic over there, so none of these areas are particularly surprising. This area is a known congestion issue. This area is a known congestion issue. This isn't too fancy of an interchange. This area is definitely a known congestion issue. We just spent so long trying to work that out today. And, you're complaining about lack of labor now? Gosh. That's the rebalancing kicking in, I guess. But is the rest of the city working? None of our other interchanges seem to be backing up, so I guess that's a good sign. Ooh, this one is, actually. Where's everybody trying to go? Hey, look at that. Everyone's trying to go, like, everywhere. People are trying to go down this way, up into the Hilltop District. Interesting. What for? Probably to refill this storage, because this storage is empty. I see. Yeah, so we have a ton of buildings that all have storage that needs to be filled up. So I guess that's probably what a huge amount of the influx of vehicles and traffic is going to be for. Look at this. I've never had traffic in the city before. It's so beautiful. Oh my goodness, I love... Was that a car that just flipped up? I hope not. That was... Oh my gosh, it is a car. Hello? What is happening right now? Where are you going? Are you real? Maybe you're not real. I'm just gonna delete you. You are real. How are you doing, Linda Harding? I just deleted your car. I'm sorry. But I don't know. That was interesting. Oh my goodness. This is awesome. Look at all that backup. Okay, then where are all you folks trying to go? You're all trying to go down here, and then you kind of distribute. Wow, I love this. It's kind of like actual distributed traffic. How's our parking garage over here holding up? This used to be our worst traffic area. And now this parking garage is like emptied out and free, 3 p.m., just chilling. Still a good amount of traffic, but really not that bad compared to like everywhere else downtown. Oh, this is great, y'all. I love this. I love seeing, oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. Oh no, this is bad. What's happening here? 138, that's not too bad. But this tram is now full. Wow. People are using the streets and there's traffic actually backing up. And look at this. It's actually like looking super busy around Grand Central Station. Tons of people waiting for the tram. No one using the actual trains. Anyone using the subway? Not really anyone using the subway either. Tons of people using the trams though, and tons of people driving. So that's always a good sign. That's always super cool to see. Look at that. People and cars and life. There's life in my city, y'all. That never happens. Wow, I love this. I love seeing all of this traffic coming through. Some of this I'm not actually gonna fix because like this interchange is kind of set in stone and it's already frankly overbuilt. Like there's 5 ways to get anywhere you want to go from this interchange. So it's not on me, it's on the simulation for that being broken, TBA. Look at the volume of traffic that suddenly we're getting. Suddenly we're getting 150 cars per hour on these like random local streets. Over 300 cars per hour on Hawthorne Street. This is absurd in the best way. Very, very happy to see all of this traffic coming up. Let's just see how many cars per hour we're getting here on Belmont Street. Also around 200. How about on Claiborne? 250. Riverbend? Just 100, but it is backing up a fair bit. From where? Where's everybody coming from? Out of nowhere. There's like very little traffic. I guess it's just not flowing through the intersection fully, right? So maybe this is a traffic lights enhancement thing. I wonder if it's an issue of me allowing and turning on red, so let's disable that. Let's see, is this asset a perfect square? Like if I turn it onto this frontage road, is everything gonna break? No, that actually seems to work. So I'm just gonna have to pause that and reconnect the power up, but that should be not as big of a problem, eh? So now all of this traffic should also feed onto the side road instead of directly turning onto the main road and causing this weird backups we're getting. And now this interchange also wants to use split phasing with allow turn on red. So this interchange should also be going that way. What is happening over here? What's up with you? You're just are you a gas station? Are you... Are you the only gas station that I have in this area? If that's the case, are you what's causing the backups? Because, I don't know, I'll just place down another gas station over here, right? If I just put a gas station right there, what are they gonna do? Is everybody gonna start coming over here now? I mean, I swear, if all of this traffic backup is because of this one gas station, like, I swear to God, why? What is this absurdity? Why are there so many people coming to this one gas station? It's like a tourist attraction for a freaking gas station. Absurd. That's absurd. Well, let's take a look at some gas station options. Here's one, just put that on the side over here. I have room for another over there. This can be maybe a 3x3. How's that? Now we should have plenty more gas stations for people to apparently flock to. Gosh, there's like no movement in here. And I really want, oh, there we go. I think it's just the simulation just pooping itself. I'm still curious why the simulation has just gotten so bad in this update. To not be able to run at 1x speed, like to not even be able to run at 0.5x speed on an average is a little bit confusing. I don't know why the cars keep on speeding up and slowing down and all. Something about like backed up industrial traffic like this really reminds me of the LA area, like Long Beach area maybe. Is that the area where the highways kind of turn into local roads driving through industrial area? Just seeing all the industrial traffic backed up really reminds me of that. On the bright side, our trains are zooming past all the traffic just like they should. Hopefully that's a good sign. Meanwhile, this back road is getting way more usage than I reasonably want it to. But I don't really know that I have a compelling way to stop them from doing that. I've already lowered the speed limit so much. And I guess it does bypass all of this traffic, right? Maybe they're smart for doing that. Good on you, guys. Good on you for taking the back roads instead of clogging up the main roads even more, because this is like gridlock levels bad. It is just not running even in the game, but okay, well, clearly things are still simulating because I'm just getting tons of lack of labor notifications more and more over time. All of them are getting lack of labor now. Huh. You know what? This video is going to be called Bridges+Ports Killed My City, because nothing has labor anymore. But I'm going to say that's a good thing. For it to all have been working totally fine before was arguably more concerning than now the issues are finally popping up that the cities should have been having all along. Hey, there's another traffic accident. Why is that? All right, well, I guess we're going to have to build some housing in the future. But unfortunately, I have quite a handful of episodes that I want to do before I build some real housing. At least one episode. At least one episode I want to do before I build some housing. So maybe don't get your horses up. Don't get your horses up. What's the expression? You know what I mean. Don't get your hopes up for... Don't get all your high horse. Don't get all your high horse. Don't get your hopes up for having these lack of labor signs fixed anytime soon. We're gonna have to deal with them for at least an episode more while I build out more places for employment and jobs to just fill up without residential. I mean, let's take a look at that real quick. I've got 41,000 workplaces for 25,000 employees. That's healthy, right? Oh dear. I've got 15,000 open positions that I need to fill, which means I need to place down probably at least 30,000 new residencies. Oh boy. Yeah, that's going to be like double the population of our city, basically, because those are all going to need their own little hubs, and there's going to be more jobs created next episode. So I basically need to double the population of my city just to support all of this. But hey, maybe it's about time to do that. The simulation's clearly going to struggle whether I build residential or not, so why don't I just go ahead and do it and have some fun while I'm at it? Either way, it seems like this is going to be just a lot of waiting for the simulation to run, so all these problems are still going to be there when I start the next episode. But we have made the big changes that I wanted to already. The ferry changes are made, the grade separation changes have been done, some attempted traffic solutions have been made. We'll see how good or bad it actually is. But some attempts to solve traffic have been done. Maybe this should be signalized, come to think of it. No, because that's going to incentivize more people to use it. It should stay as a back road, to be honest. I'm gonna do a priorities tool thing over here, where priority really goes to... Alright, I know this was a little bit of an odd episode. This was a 0.5 episode, kind of an interim episode between episodes 10 and episode 11 proper. But I did want to bring you all in while I did all these little Bridges+Ports fixes. Otherwise, I would have been doing all of these little things off camera, and I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to bring you in for it, just so that you could see how Bridges+Ports killed my city. Look at all these pop-ups, y'all. Look at them. They're everywhere. Even the fields that we placed down for aesthetics. There's a traffic jam over here. You're oh my goodness. Everywhere is traffic. Oh dear gosh. They've changed some stuff this update. I think it'll take us a little while to recover from it, but you know, maybe that's a good thing, because we were kind of cruising along a little bit too easily beforehand without needing to play the game. So anyway, I thank you all for joining me on this wild ride of an episode, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.